Hi, I'm Mina.
And I'm Yules.
Thanks for tuning in to Artificially Informed.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for a truly panoramic view of the world.
We really are.
We're doing a deep dive into a stack of sources that is so vast, we are literally spanning continents, different epochs, and scientific disciplines.
An ambitious one.
I mean, we're going to start with these ancient monumental mounds in the swamps of Louisiana, and then, without skipping a beat, move right into the outer reaches of the cosmos.
Only to land, squarely in the middle of volatile crypto finance and some really high-stakes geopolitical brinkmanship.
Exactly.
It's a phenomenal mission today, and the sheer breadth of the material, it just demands precision and depth.
It does.
So if you're prepping for a meeting or maybe catching up on the field, or if you're simply looking for that, that absolute non-overwhelming shortcut to being comprehensively well-informed,
Packed with those aha moments.
then you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Our goal is to synthesize the biggest movements in science, geopolitics, and technology, so you can walk away with the crucial context you need to really understand the modern world.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
We're talking about groundbreaking scientific discoveries. I mean, everything from how cancer has these evasive mechanisms to the role of a single protein in Alzheimer's.
And then there's the major global flashpoints.
Huge ones. We're going to have to dissect the controversial Ukraine peace plans that are coming out of Washington and that really complicated, delicate U.S.-China-Taiwan relationship.
Plus, we've got critical tech developments, like the latest hurdles for self-driving cars over in Europe.
And my favorite, the ironic failure of a top cryptology firm.
Oh, we have to get to that one.
We do. And yes, we absolutely must take the time to honor a true global cultural giant.
That's a lot to cover.
It is.
So let's just jump straight into the deep end. We're starting with what we've termed the frontiers of discovery.
Okay.
And right at the top, the science that really affects all of us. Breakthroughs in health and biology.
Our sources are highlighting some truly impressive and very technical leaps forward in the continuous battle against cancer.
Very technical.
Specifically, we're focusing on what scientists are now calling the evasive cancer switch.
Right, and we're looking at carcinomas here.
Which are the most common type of cancer, right? Arising from epithelial cells.
Exactly. And these cells possess this incredible, almost, terrifying ability to shapeshift.
That concept of shapeshifting is really the key insight from this research, isn't it?
It is. These carcinomas don't just, grow. They literally reprogram themselves. They go through this transformation. It's called the epithelial to mesenchymal transition, or EMT.
And why is that such a massive clinical challenge?
Well, because they use this transformation to build resistance to conventional therapies. It makes the immune system unable to recognize or fight them effectively.
So they're essentially putting on a disguise.
A perfect one. They change their metabolic pathways, their surface markers. They're essentially pulling a permanent disappearing act from surveillance.
And for a long time, just understanding this mechanism has been sort of the missing piece of the puzzle.
It has. But the breakthrough is finding what you could call the central command center.
Identifying the pivotal proteins and structures that facilitate this constant transformation.
Yes. It's like identifying the master lock that governs the entire cellular disguise network. Once we know the specific molecular drivers, the signals that kick off EMT, we could potentially block them.
And that's where this moves beyond purely academic interest.
Precisely. This opens up entirely new therapeutic paths. Current treatments, they often rely on broad-spectrum chemo or radiation, which harms healthy tissue.
Of course.
This research lets us aim for safer, highly specific, and selective cancer drugs. I mean, we're talking about the next generation of personalized medicine.
So the hope is to design compounds that target those dynamic cellular processes directly.
Right. To essentially lock the tumor into its non-aggressive, non-evasive form so that the existing safer treatments can finish the job.
Okay, so from shape-shifting tumors, let's shift focus to the brain. We have some critical findings related to Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease.
Diseases that touch far too many lives.
They do. For Alzheimer's, new research is pointing to a hidden weak spot, and it's linked to a specific mutation in the SORL-A protein.
The SORL-A protein is absolutely critical to brain health. You can think of it as a sort of traffic controller inside our neurons.
Okay.
It plays a pivotal role in generating and trafficking what are called exosomes.
And exosomes are like tiny communication packets in the brain.
That's a great way to think of it. Imagine brain cells communicating via these tiny protective bubble-like packets that carry molecular messages. Those are exosomes.
So what happens when the sorrel A protein is defective?
Well, the research indicates that when it's defective because of this specific mutation, it doesn't just reduce the quantity of these exosomes, it also significantly degrades their quality and their content.
So the efficiency and integrity of the brain's entire microscopic communication network just starts breaking down.
Exactly. And this reduced efficiency, the failure to clear out toxic waste or deliver necessary signaling molecules via these tiny packets, is what potentially accelerates the progression of Alzheimer's disease.
It's a fascinating insight into how a single protein failure can cascade into systemic brain degeneration.
It is. And this focus on exosomal function offers a completely new target for intervention, potentially years before symptoms become severe.
So it's a critical finding because it shifts the focus away from just the amyloid plaques and looks at the underlying communication failure.
It does. Now, shifting over to Parkinson's, we have a completely separate but equally critical new study.
And what's this one linking?
It's linking untreated obstructive sleep apnea OSA to a significantly increased risk of developing Parkinson's disease.
That is a very common condition. I think a lot of people just dismiss OSA as bad snoring or poor sleep.
They do, but its link to a severe neurodegenerative disorder like Parkinson's is, well, it's alarming.
And what's the mechanism there? What's the connection?
It's believed to be the chronic intermittent hypoxia.
The repeated oxygen deprivation during the night.
Exactly. Which causes systemic inflammation and oxidative stress, and both of those are known factors in Parkinson's progression.
So this really emphasizes how crucial it is to address common sleep disorders, not just for quality of life, but for long-term neurological health.
We're talking about an actionable solution here. Treating OSA with standard equipment like continuous positive airway pressure, or CPAP, machines could potentially serve as a preventative measure.
It really underscores the holistic nature of health, doesn't it? The lungs, heart, and brain are all connected by that oxygen supply.
They are.
And, while we're on actionable health insights, let's talk about the sedentary lifestyle.
Which is unfortunately the norm for so many of us, especially in desk jobs.
Right. We all know prolonged sitting is bad. It increases cardiovascular risk factors, but new research is providing a partial antidote.
And a highly accessible one, even for people who are otherwise fit and active outside of their work hours.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about the protective effect of high flavanol foods.
This is great news for anyone who enjoys cocoa, tea, berries, or apples.
It is. The analysis shows that regular consumption of these foods helps protect your vascular health from the damage caused by prolonged sitting.
Even if you hit the gym every day.
Even then, sitting for 8 hours still causes a measurable decline in blood vessel function and elasticity.
And the power of these foods is attributed to specific compounds.
Yes, specifically to certain antioxidant compounds, catechin and epicatechin. They're abundant in high flavanol cocoa and tea.
And how do they work?
They actively increase nitric oxide production, which helps relax and maintain normal blood vessel function and integrity.
It's not a license to sit indefinitely, of course.
Of course not. But your morning cup of high-quality tea or maybe some dark chocolate might actually be mitigating some of the daily, unavoidable damage from your desk job.
It's a delicious prescription, if I may say so.
I agree.
Now, before we move away from health, we do have to pause for a more serious and poignant note.
Yes. Reflecting on the deep challenges that are facing patients with rare cancers.
This comes from a deeply personal and moving essay by Tatiana Schlossberg, discussing her battle with a rare form of leukemia.
It's a profoundly important piece because even with access to elite healthcare, which, as a member of one of America's most prominent families, she certainly has, she highlighted these massive systemic issues surrounding rare cancers.
She pointed out that the lack of targeted research, fewer clinical trials, and just limited treatment options for these less common illnesses often leaves patients feeling invisible.
And struggling significantly, even within the best medical systems. It's not just a personal tragedy, it's a systemic failure of research funding allocation.
Where the common diseases receive the lion's share.
Right, leaving over 1.2 million Americans with rare cancers to fight these uphill battles. Her experience serves as a clear call for increased funding and research focus on these neglected areas of oncology.
It's a reminder that equity in health outcomes requires research that extends beyond the most profitable or prevalent diseases.
Well said.
Okay, Let's leave Earth's internal biology behind for a moment and look outward towards space. We've got some thrilling news regarding NASA's, that's the National Aeronautics and Space Administration's next generation of exploration hardware.
Right, starting with a telescope that is already wowing scientists before it even launches.
And that's the Nancy Grace Roman Space Telescope.
Correct. Its advanced capabilities for wide-field infrared observation are surprising researchers with higher-than-expected sensitivity.
And once it's operational, what's it going to do?
It's expected to deliver groundbreaking data on celestial bodies and dark energy. The sources detail it will be tuned to analyze minute physical oscillations, like tiny seismic movements from over 300,000 red giants.
300,000. That scale is just immense.
It is. It enables a truly statistical understanding of star systems.
And the goal of analyzing those oscillations is what, exactly?
It's to gain deep insights into the exoplanets orbiting these red giants, enhancing our knowledge of their masses, their distances, and their potential for habitability.
It really reinforces NASA's commitment to unlocking the mysteries of the cosmos by viewing the universe in bulk.
And speaking of mysteries, NASA is also looking backward at old data to solve an enduring Martian riddle.
Ah, I saw this. Archival data, some of it dating back years, from 3 different NASA missions, has revealed the existence of colossal water-carved caves or skylights on Mars.
This is where the hunt for ancient Martian life gets really focused.
How so?
Scientists are speculating that these caves, which are shielded from the planet's harsh surface radiation, the freezing temperatures, and intense solar winds.
They're the prime location for hiding evidence of ancient microbial life.
Precisely. They act as potential microhabitats that could preserve biological signatures for billions of years.
It really highlights the value of long-term data analysis, doesn't it? Old missions continuing to yield groundbreaking revelations years after their primary objectives are complete.
Absolutely. The secrets of Mars might not be on the dusty, irradiated surface, but deep underground in these protected subsurface structures.
And while we're talking about life surviving in extreme environments, we have a fascinating study involving a deceptively simple organism.
Moss spores.
Yes, the tiny plant that defied the vacuum of space. Researchers sent spores from the moss species Fiscomitrium patens aboard the ISS, the International Space Station.
For 9 months. They expose them to vacuum, cosmic radiation, massive temperature extremes that fluctuate wildly.
And the result was incredible.
Over 80% successfully germinated when they returned to Earth.
How did they survive?
Their survival is attributed to their incredibly tough protective coating and their inherent capacity for cryptobiosis, a dormant state of life.
So what are the possibilities this opens up?
Amazing ones. It suggests that simple, highly durable plants like moss could be used in future-controlled environment planetary agriculture systems.
To provide oxygen or biomass for longer-term human habitats, like on Mars.
Exactly. If moss can survive the void, imagine the potential for supporting life on future exploratory missions.
And just a quick note on celestial aesthetics. We got new images of the interstellar comet 3I.
Right, captured between November 22 and 24, 2025, by more than a dozen NASA spacecraft.
And since this comet originated outside our solar system, these images are giving us unprecedented views of a truly alien visitor.
And clues about the composition of stellar nurseries far beyond our sun.
Now, before we leave extreme environments, let's circle back to Earth's atmosphere. We promised to cover the mechanics of lightning.
A fascinating subject that connects Earth science directly to space weather.
Indeed. We know lightning is a massive discharge of static electricity, but how that static charge builds up in discharges is immensely complex.
It is. Research has focused on how ice crystals collide within these towering cumulonimbus clouds, creating positively and negatively charged regions.
And the lightning strike is the atmosphere's way of trying to neutralize this enormous separation of charge.
But what's crucial to understand here is the role of cosmic rays.
From space.
Yes. Recent studies suggest that tiny bursts of high-energy particles originating in space actually seed the initial electrical pathways, the faint streamers, that eventually mature into the visible lightning bolt, the return stroke.
So lightning isn't purely a terrestrial phenomenon?
Not at all. It's constantly influenced by what's happening outside our atmosphere.
And finally, related to space phenomena, NASA is also making a concerted effort to bring space weather into the classroom.
Right. They launched the Heliophysics Education Activation Team, or HEAT, working with my NASA data resources.
And the purpose is purely educational.
It is, to help students, and really all of us, understand space weather science, Things like powerful solar flares, coronal mass ejection.
Especially now, as the sun is reaching its solar maximum, which means more intense space weather events.
And they're using real-time data from missions like the Parker Solar Probe to make these complex solar phenomena relatable and tangible for the next generation.
Which is crucial, since intense space weather can knock out satellites and disrupt power grids right here on Earth. All right, moving from the distant future of space exploration way back to our deepest history here on Earth. Let's talk about a stunning archaeological finding in the United States.
Specifically in Louisiana, at a UNESCO World Heritage Site known as Poverty Point.
This site is famous for its massive concentric earthen mounds and ridges. They date up over 3,500 years.
Yes, from 1700 to 1100 BCE, placing it firmly in the late Archaic period.
And for decades, the enigma has been, how were these massive structures built?
The entrenched theory held that you needed a rigid, complex, centralized agricultural society with a fixed population under strong command to do something like this.
But the new evidence completely challenges that.
Completely. Analysis of the construction materials and sequencing suggests these monumental structures were built not by a fixed population under centralized leadership,
But collaboratively by nomadic hunter-gatherer communities that lacked permanent settlements.
This is truly groundbreaking. The theory now is that these groups would converge at Poverty Point for massive, likely seasonal gatherings.
For what? Trade, ritual.
Potentially for trade, high-level ritual, communal feasting, and during these specific limited periods, thousands of people would work together on the construction.
So this reframes our entire understanding of social complexity in ancient North America.
It does. It suggests that massive collaborative projects don't necessarily require rigid hierarchy or permanent settlement.
It's a testament to the organizational power of shared cultural purpose and ritual among nomadic peoples.
It really is.
You know, that connection between ancient nomadic communities organizing monumental public works and our modern attempts to predict cosmic rays influencing lightning, that just perfectly highlights the scope of what we cover here.
It's a good transition.
Let's shift gears now from deep history to the high-stakes present, geopolitics, where the stakes are immediate and profound.
All right, the great geopolitical chessboard.
The situation surrounding the war in Ukraine, it remains volatile, particularly as these diplomatic efforts are swirling around a U.S.-backed peace plan.
One that U.S. President Donald Trump has emphasized, with a stated Thanksgiving deadline for finalizing a framework with Russia.
Which is putting immense pressure on all parties involved.
The pressure is certainly immense. Sources detail high-stakes negotiations being held in Geneva and potentially other confidential locations.
But Ukrainian officials are expressing serious and very public concern.
They are. They're worried that the current U.S. plan requires unacceptable concessions to Moscow.
And these concessions revolve around two red lines, right?
Almost entirely. First, resolving current territorial disputes, which means acknowledging Russia's control over certain annexed regions.
And second, critically, waiving future NATO membership.
NATO being the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's the big one.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has confirmed that direct discussions are taking place about these sensitive peace terms.
Yes, noting that the draft has been refined to fewer than 28 key points. He also stated he plans to confer directly with President Trump to hash out the most contentious aspects.
That shows the gravity of the situation. The head of a sovereign nation going directly to the U.S. president to discuss compromises that touch on the nation's core territorial integrity and future security.
It does. And if we look at the international reactions, the dialogue is, well, it's complex.
U.S. and Russian officials reportedly held critical private discussions in Abu Dhabi.
Specifically to discuss the outlines of this framework. But Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has expressed profound skepticism about all the public leaks surrounding the plan.
He's emphasizing the need for absolute confidentiality.
He is likely concerned that leaks could sabotage any possibility of genuine progress.
And meanwhile, the European perspective adds another layer of complexity.
It does. Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani suggested that lifting European Union sanctions on Russia would be an integral part of any peace agreement.
Serving as a crucial economic starting point for normalization.
Right. It highlights the intricate link between a military resolution, a diplomatic agreement, and the massive European economic policy architecture. Peace, in this scenario, has a very high financial cost for Moscow.
Okay, now, this is where we need to introduce a significant element of information warfare that's layered onto the diplomacy.
We have to. We have to report on an extraordinary claim coming from Russia's state intelligence apparatus.
The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the SGR.
Yes. They have publicly alleged that the UK is planning a significant smear campaign against President Trump.
And they claim this alleged campaign is motivated by a desire to actively prevent the current peace deal from succeeding.
Exactly. And why? The SVR suggests the UK stands to gain massive financial revenues from multi-billion-dollar arms and defense contracts if hostilities continue.
Creating a powerful economic incentive against peace.
And the SVR specifically alleges the UK plans to revive the highly discredited Steele dossier to discredit Trump as part of this effort.
It is paramount that we state we are simply reporting the SVR's allegation here.
Absolutely. This claim, regardless of its truth, illustrates the deep suspicion and complex ongoing information warfare that's layered on top of the actual conflict.
As major world powers maneuver for political and economic leverage.
It just makes any diplomatic effort immediately suspect.
And adding to that complexity and massive political instability is a severe internal corruption crisis in Kyiv itself, linked directly to President Zelensky's inner circle.
This is a crucial vulnerability as Ukraine seeks international trust.
And highly damaging to Kyiv's credibility.
It is. Investigators from NEDU, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, uncovered a massive amount of confidential information during their investigation into high-level graft.
We are talking about 527 dossiers.
Containing highly sensitive personal data on Ukrainian officials, lawmakers, detectives, journalists. This suggests a massive internal surveillance operation.
And the man at the center of this? Timur Mindich, a businessman closely associated with Zelensky.
Literally fled the country just hours before his residence was raided.
And investigators suspect the database, which could be used for manipulation and blackmail, was compiled with active help from compromised law enforcement officials inside Ukraine.
Which indicates deep institutional corruption.
And there's more.
There is. This is the really worrying detail. President Zelensky's chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, reportedly ordered a probe into the head of the country's key anti-corruption body, SAPO, the Specialized Anti-Corruption Prosecutor's Office.
Into the chief, Alexander Klimenko.
Right, amid allegations of a related $100 million kickback scheme.
So when the very bodies meant to fight corruption are themselves under internal scrutiny and suspicion?
It raises critical questions about the accountability of Western funds meant to support Ukraine's defense and democracy.
The internal political tension in Kyiv is palpable, and it threatens to undermine the moral authority of the government, just as it needs to make the most difficult peace negotiations imaginable.
A very precarious situation.
Okay, let's switch focus to the Pacific theater. U.S.-China relations continue to be characterized by this complex, almost schizophrenic mix of warming diplomatic ties and persistent core tensions.
It's true. Following a direct call with Chinese President Xi Jinping, President Trump described U.S.-China relations as extremely strong.
And that diplomatic thaw is marked by concrete action.
It is. President Trump is planning a significant visit to China in April. Furthermore, U.S. Treasury Chief Scott Bessent hinted that Trump might attend the APEC summit, that's the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation in Shenzhen, China, in November 2026.
So these high-level meetings signal a clear pivot toward collaboration, particularly on crucial economic and trade issues.
Reversing some of the previous hostility, yes.
However, the core geopolitical tension remains rigid and unchanged, and it centers, as always, on Taiwan.
Always. During their call, President Xi Jinping reportedly stressed, unequivocally, that Taiwan's return is essential to establishing a new post-war global order.
And that commitment to reunification is a non-negotiable, fundamental red line for Beijing.
It stands in stark contrast to the diplomatic thaw on trade and tourism. That core conflict is the ticking clock of global security.
And this specific tension has immediate ripple effects across the region, particularly affecting India.
Yes, we had a report of an Indian woman from Arunachal Pradesh being harassed at Shanghai airport.
Simply because of her nationality and origin.
Right, and the context here is critical. China claims Arunachal Pradesh as part of its Tibet Autonomous Region, referring to it as Zhengyan.
And India, naturally, lodged a formal diplomatic complaint emphasizing that Arunachal Pradesh is an integral and inseparable part of India.
This incident, affecting a private citizen during routine transit, highlights how deep and personal these ongoing territorial disputes can become.
It's real-world diplomatic friction and citizen harassment, far away from any military border.
Precisely.
All right, moving closer to the U.S., let's examine the escalating military and legal pressure on Venezuela.
The U.S. has mounted its largest naval presence in the Caribbean in decades. This was exemplified by General Dan Kane's recent tour and inspection of naval assets in the region.
A very visible demonstration of force.
It is. And the U.S. strategy seems to be this calculated combination of military pressure and aggressive legal designation.
You're talking about the designation of the Cartel de los Soles.
Exactly. This purported criminal network within Venezuela's security forces linked directly to President Nicolas Maduro. The U.S. officially designated them as a foreign terrorist organization.
Which aligns them with groups like Al-Qaeda and Hezbollah and triggers powerful U.S. sanctions and legal tools.
Yet, here is the striking contradiction that demands analysis.
Despite this aggressive, tough designation.
Reports suggest President Trump is simultaneously ready to engage in direct, high-level talks with Maduro.
So how do you reconcile that mixed message?
Well, is the U.S. using the terrorist designation purely as maximum leverage, a political hammer, to force Maduro to the table under unfavorable conditions?
Yeah. Or does it signal a genuine policy split between hardliners and those favoring pragmatic engagement?
We don't know. But it shows the volatile, high-stakes nature of U.S. foreign policy in Latin America.
And we also see instability spiking dramatically in the Middle East.
Yes. An Israeli airstrike in Beirut, Lebanon, killed Haytham Ali Tabatabai,
who is the chief of staff of Hezbollah, the military commander responsible for the southern front.
This is an extremely significant escalation. It marks the first successful targeting of such a high-level military official within Hezbollah since the 2024 ceasefire.
Which followed the Gaza conflict.
Right, and it raises immediate and serious concerns about the stability of the entire region and the fragility of that cessation of hostilities.
Because Hezbollah is now under intense pressure to retaliate for the loss of its chief of staff.
They are.
And finally, on the geopolitical front, President Trump signed an executive order targeting specific chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood for designation as foreign terrorist organizations.
This move follows decades of debate in Washington about extremism and national security.
But critics immediately warned that such broad designations could potentially alienate and criminalize moderate Muslim communities and political parties across the globe,
complicating diplomatic relationships in the Middle East and North Africa. These actions, from the high visibility of the naval tour in the Caribbean to the targeted strike in Beirut, they just underscore the current administration's willingness to use both military strength and powerful legal tools aggressively
to manage global conflicts and perceived threats.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk money.
Let's.
We're starting with a spectacular and very public correction in the world of high-risk digital assets. The Trump family's estimated wealth has seen a sharp decline.
Over $1 billion, dropping from an estimated $7.7 billion to $6.7 billion.
That's a huge drop. And what's it attributed to?
Directly to speculative losses in cryptocurrency and meme coin investments linked to the Trump brand.
It really highlights the extreme volatility and illiquidity of these assets.
It does. It serves as a highly visible cautionary tale for even the wealthiest investors who dive into these fringy digital currencies hoping for instant, massive returns.
What goes up quickly often falls faster.
Much faster.
On the flip side of the crypto conversation, Bitcoin did show a slight but important rise, trading above $87,000.
Which fuels ongoing discussions among financial analysts about whether this upward momentum is sustainable.
Is it driven by institutional adoption like ETFs, or is it just short-term fluctuation tied to market exuberance?
$1 million or $87,000 question.
Indeed. Moving to the broader retail economy, we're seeing mixed signals heading into the critical holiday season.
We are. Best Buy, the electronics giant, has raised its sales forecast,
citing consumer willingness to upgrade technology and splurge on electronic devices.
They're doing significantly better than analysts expected.
But the larger picture is less bullish for the overall economy. U.S. retail sales growth actually slowed in September.
It missed economists' expectations for the period.
And this slowdown was primarily due to a significant decline in car sales and gasoline purchases.
Which indicates that consumer spending has tightened overall, especially on those big-ticket items.
So if you're one of the many preparing for the massive consumer event that is Black Friday, the sources are full of hot deals.
Retailers are desperate to move inventory. We're seeing record-low prices on flagship Apple products.
Like what?
For instance, a massive $400 drop on the 2TB M4 iPad Pro, and the popular 11th Gen iPad is available for just $279. This is aggressive pricing.
And for those of you with an interest in the cosmos following our earlier discussion about NASA retailers are heavily discounting astrophotography equipment.
We saw the high-end Sony A7R IV camera, beginner-friendly Nikon binoculars, and stellar savings on various star projectors.
Yeah.
It's a very competitive holiday shopping season.
Okay, stepping back to global fiscal policies, we have a stark and disturbing picture of the economic costs of corruption emerging from Pakistan.
An IMF International Monetary Fund report reveals Pakistan loses a staggering 6% of its GDP, its gross domestic product, annually due to pervasive corruption.
And they use a term for this phenomenon, right?
They do. They call it elite capture.
Elite capture is a key term here. What does it mean?
It means public policy, regulatory frameworks, and national resources are manipulated exclusively for the benefit of a small, interconnected group of political and business elites.
And the IMF suggests that tackling this corruption through comprehensive governance reforms could boost Pakistan's GDP by up to 6.5% over just 5 years.
It just illustrates the enormous economic cost of dysfunctional institutions and poor governance.
And meanwhile, in the UK, there's an ongoing, highly political debate about whether the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility, has become a straitjacket on growth.
The OBR is the independent public finance watchdog. It provides impartial economic forecasts.
But critics argue its overly stringent fiscal rules hinder necessary governmental investments in infrastructure and technology,
Preventing long-term growth planning, especially ahead of Chancellor Rachel Reeves's upcoming budget announcement.
And Russia is attempting to deal with its own internal financial issues, specifically targeting its enormous shadow economy.
Right. Finance Minister Anton Siluanov is implementing new measures to crack down on untaxed income, aiming to increase transparency and tax revenues.
And a notable initiative is formalizing crypto mining through a recognized registry and tax regulations.
Attempting to capture revenue from a previously unregulated sector.
Okay, let's shift our focus to technology, specifically the rapid acceleration of artificial intelligence.
Anthropic, a major player in the AI, or artificial intelligence space and a rival to OpenAI, has released its latest iteration, Opus 4.5.
And this is designed for seamless productivity enhancement.
Specifically through new integrations into ubiquitous tools like Google Chrome and Microsoft Excel.
So it leverages Claude's advanced language processing capabilities to automate repetitive tasks, streamline web research, and summarize massive data sets without you having to switch applications.
The goal is truly uninterrupted ambient assistance.
But the AI news that really caught my attention involves one of the biggest names in design.
Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, working with the renowned industrial designer Jony Ive of Apple fame.
On a completely new AI device. And Altman described it as something more peaceful and calm than the iPhone.
With a potential launch within the next 2 years.
That is a fascinating and, well, revolutionary objective, designing a calmer, less attention-demanding technology experience.
They are explicitly trying to counteract the frenetic, anxiety-inducing nature of the modern smartphone.
It suggests a move toward contextual, non-screen-based interaction with AI.
It does.
Speaking of ambitious European technological projects, Europe has launched the HIP-OVER network.
HypeOver, that's the High-Power Optical Vortex Network.
And what's it for?
This network is aimed at advancing optical vortex technologies, which involve manipulating these twisting, highly structured beams of light.
And the application here is what's crucial.
It is. This technology allows for highly precise material processing at the nanoscale and promises significantly higher data bandwidth in fiber optics.
So it's an effort to position Europe as a leader in advanced light technology for everything from high-speed communication to environmentally friendly photonic systems.
Which use light instead of electricity.
But not all technological rollouts are smooth. Tesla's FSD, or full self-driving system, is facing significant regulatory hurdles with European regulators.
Casting serious doubt on the promised rollout by early 2026.
This highlights the regulatory complexities of introducing advanced autonomous systems across different jurisdictions.
Especially regarding liability and safety testing standards, which are often stricter in the European Union.
And then we have a shocking security failure that reminds us that human institutions, even those focused on high security, are fallible.
The IACR, the International Association for Cryptologic Research, was forced to cancel its elections.
Why?
Because of the loss of a crucial protected encryption key.
And they sheepishly dubbed it an honest human mistake.
Right. A leading, respected cryptology firm losing its own crucial encryption key to a non-recoverable error.
You just couldn't write that plot line.
You couldn't. It raises serious concerns about secure communication practices and institutional resilience, even at the highest levels of digital expertise. It's a reminder that hardware and human procedure remain the weakest link.
Finally, we need to talk about social media transparency, specifically X's, formerly Twitter's, controversial new feature that displays user locations.
This feature was intended to enhance local user engagement, Maybe promote nearby events?
But instead, it inadvertently exposed a critical and often hidden aspect of political discourse online.
It revealed that a massive number of viral pro-MAGA political accounts that appear to be domestic U.S. voices, were actually originating in foreign countries.
Specifically in India, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka.
This immediately raises profound ethical and security concerns about the authenticity of domestic political engagement, the scale of misinformation campaigns, and the potential for foreign influence.
It really reinforces the urgent need for platforms to address the credibility and origin of political accounts.
Moving beyond just labeling bots and dealing with coordinated foreign narratives.
Exactly.
All right, moving to the realm of law and order in the U.S.
A federal judge has dismissed the legal cases brought against former FBI Federal Bureau of Investigation Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James.
These two figures have been frequent and vocal targets of President Trump,
who had publicly called for their prosecution and legal accountability related to his administration and ongoing legal battles.
The dismissals are significant. They reflect the judiciary's role in managing these highly politicized legal clashes.
In a separate, highly charged incident, the Pentagon has launched an investigation into Democratic Senator Mark Kelly,
a former astronaut and decorated Navy pilot. The inquiry is based on a video where he and other lawmakers urged U.S. military personnel to defy what they termed illegal orders from the executive branch.
And Kelly responded defiantly, stating he would not be intimidated and seeing the entire investigation as politically motivated retribution from the Trump administration.
The Pentagon asserts that federal law allows the defense secretary to recall retired service members to active duty, potentially leading to a military legal review or even a court-martial for insubordination.
This creates a dramatic constitutional and political standoff regarding civilian control of the military and the limits of political dissent.
It really does.
In terms of high-profile crime, Morgan Geyser, one of the individuals convicted in the notorious 2014 Slender Man stabbing case, was recaptured
after escaping a group home. And the startling detail here is that upon her apprehension, she reportedly told police to just Google her name.
That phrase speaks volumes, doesn't it? About the lasting infamy, the cultural impact, and the deep awareness of her case.
It became a global example of the intersection of juvenile crime and internet mythology.
Globally, however, we have to look at far more systemic issues related to violence and crime that affect vulnerable populations.
A chilling UN United Nations report reveals the staggering, unacceptable scale of femicide.
The report details that a shocking 137 women and girls are killed daily by intimate partners or family members globally in 2024.
That is over 50,000 deaths worldwide in a year attributed to this specific gender-based violence.
It underscores the severity of femicide, noting that nearly 60% of female homicide victims are killed by people close to them,
compared to only 11% of male homicide victims. This is a pandemic of violence occurring within the domestic sphere.
We also see organized crime impacting various unexpected sectors. In the UK, police launched a nationwide crackdown on rural crime,
after farmers reported organized incidents, including a shocking case where a gang wearing balaclavas targeted a combined harvester high-value equipment for theft.
This highlights the increasing sophistication and financial focus of rural crime gangs, who are moving beyond petty theft to major agricultural equipment.
It does. And finally, a much-needed glimmer of hope amidst a persistent security crisis in Nigeria.
50 kidnapped school students successfully escaped their abductors.
And in response to the persistent threat of mass abductions, President Bola Tinubu ordered the immediate recruitment of an additional 30,000 police officers to bolster security across the country.
That massive recruitment order reflects the severity of the security challenge facing the nation's youth and the state's commitment to addressing the crisis head-on.
A significant move.
All right, let's discuss a dramatic natural disaster originating in Africa but quickly affecting global aviation and health in Asia.
The Haley Gub volcano in Ethiopia, dormant for approximately 12,000 years, has erupted suddenly and violently.
The initial eruption was described as sudden and powerful, like a bomb blast, sending a massive plume into the stratosphere.
And crucially, the prevailing winds carried this massive ash plume across the Red Sea, impacting countries like Yemen, Oman, and Pakistan, and eventually reaching northern India.
Specifically the Delhi region, thousands of miles away.
Right, and this had immediate consequences for air travel and public health.
Air India and the budget carrier Akasa canceled or rerouted flights as a precaution.
Due to the regulatory checks mandated by India's aviation regulator, Volcanic ash can destroy jet engines.
And health advisories were also issued for northern Indian residents, especially those with pre-existing respiratory conditions.
Due to the fine particulate matter in the air.
Now, shifting to environmental conflicts in the U.S., we see a microcosm of tension between housing needs and ecological preservation unfolding in New Jersey.
An intense, highly politicized debate centering on developing a 120-acre old-growth forest in Essex County.
This is a classic, difficult clash of major public needs. On one side, developers backed by the Wilf family, who own the land, want to construct 496 housing units.
Critically, including required affordable housing units. And this development is driven by New Jersey's unique Mount Laurel Doctrine.
We need to unpack that doctrine for a minute.
We do. The Mount Laurel Doctrine legally compels municipalities in New Jersey to provide their fair share of regional affordable housing needs.
This means the developer has a very strong legal mandate to build, which makes local resistance extremely difficult to sustain in court.
It does. But on the other side, local residents and environmentalists are fiercely fighting to protect what is one of the last old-growth forests in Essex County.
The forest is vital for biodiversity, but most critically, it acts as a crucial natural flood control and water absorption system,
Contributing directly to the Canoe Brook drinking water supply.
and removing the forest canopy, critics warn, compromises that natural water absorption.
Which would dramatically worsen flash flood conditions in a region already prone to heavy rainfall-induced disasters, impacting thousands of homes downstream.
This is the definition of a tough policy choice. Mandated affordable housing versus critical environmental resilience and flood control.
A very tough choice.
On a slightly more encouraging note regarding the environment, we do have several dedicated conservation efforts underway.
In London, there's a dedicated Race to Rescue initiative for the rare hairy snail along the River Thames.
The hairy snail.
The small, finger-sized snail's unique habitat is severely threatened by ongoing pollution and fluctuating water levels.
And conservationists emphasize that bolstering the population of this unique gastropod isn't just about the snail itself.
Right. It's critical for maintaining biodiversity and the overall ecological health of the river ecosystem, as they are indicators of water quality.
Globally, the protection of indigenous and Afro-descendant land rights in the Amazon rainforest received a huge, necessary boost.
A new $1.8 billion pledge from international donors. These communities are increasingly recognized as absolutely crucial climate mitigators.
Given their extensive knowledge of the land and their unparalleled role in preventing deforestation.
And ensuring long-term ecological preservation.
And some good news for UK residents enjoying the outdoors. Bathing water quality across the UK has seen a slight but important improvement.
93% of designated sites are meeting minimum quality standards, up from 92% the previous year, reflecting ongoing efforts to limit sewage and agricultural runoff.
Okay, let's transition now to public health policy, starting with the UK's evolving and proactive approach to sugar consumption.
The government is expanding its existing sugar tax initiative.
The tax, which was originally applied only to sugary soft drinks, is now being extended to include high-sugar milkshakes and large lattes sold in cafes and fast food chains.
This proactive policy aims to combat stubbornly high-rising obesity levels by targeting sugar content in a wider range of popular, often overlooked beverages.
We also have crucial new information regarding GLP-1 weight loss medications, drugs like Ozempic or Wegovy in pregnancy.
The relationship here is complex and requires extremely careful patient management and consultation.
The research indicates that discontinuing GLP-1s, either prior to or during early pregnancy, can lead to significant and rapid weight regain.
And potential pregnancy complications, like a higher risk of premature birth or high birth weight.
So healthcare providers must thoroughly inform patients about the challenges associated with stopping this type of treatment during this critical period.
It demands a new level of communication in reproductive health.
Finally, we need to address 2 points of health misinformation and critical health screening. First, lung cancer, tragically the deadliest U.S. cancer, often misses most cases during traditional screening.
The challenge lies in refining detection methods to be proactive for high-risk, non-smoker groups.
Second, health experts are actively fighting the distortion of a Swedish study on hormonal contraception.
The study did find a modest increase in breast cancer risk, a 24% higher rate of diagnoses over a long period.
But doctors stress that this small absolute risk is often wildly sensationalized on platforms like TikTok, causing unnecessary fear.
They emphasize the need for personalized consultation over alarmist claims, noting that the overall safety profile of hormonal birth control remains incredibly high, and the benefits often far outweigh the minimal risk for most patients.
Okay, we must take a moment now to pay tribute to a true cultural giant who was instrumental in introducing an entire genre to the world.
Jimmy Cliff.
The legendary Jamaican reggae icon, known for popularizing ska and rocksteady alongside Bob Marley, passed away at the age of 81 due to complications from a seizure and pneumonia.
This is a monumental loss for global music.
His career spanned 6 decades, producing over 30 albums, but his global impact was really cemented by his starring role in the 1972 classic film The Harder They Come.
That film was instrumental in breaking reggae music out of Jamaica and introducing it to a massive international audience.
And it powerfully reflected the socio-economic realities of Jamaican life, melding joy and hardship.
His enduring legacy includes 2 Grammy Awards, numerous hit singles, and the prestigious Order of Merit from the Jamaican government. He was a foundational figure.
Whose musical, political, and cultural influence continues to inspire new generations of artists globally.
On a different note of loss, but also of incredible longevity, we mark the passing of Grandma, the Galapagos tortoise.
The oldest resident of the San Diego Zoo?
Grandma was approximately 141 years old and a beloved figure. Survived 2 world wars and countless human generations.
Her long life symbolized the importance and success of global conservation efforts for her endangered species. The end of an era for the San Diego Zoo.
It truly is. To wrap up, let's quickly look at the dynamic world of sports, starting with international rugby.
Which is currently described by many analysts as captivating but confusing.
The confusion stems largely from the heavy involvement of the TMO, the television match official, and the sheer volume of subjective red card reversals and disciplinary reviews during the recent Autumn Nations series.
It raises serious questions about the game's clarity, consistency, and flow.
With many calling for a better balance between maintaining player discipline and ensuring the integrity of the match speed.
Meanwhile, in football, Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim expressed extreme, almost humorous frustration after a disappointing loss to a 10-man Everton side.
He stated his team was nowhere near the level expected. He even went so far as to jokingly wish his players would fight each other in the locker room.
To foster the necessary determination and competitive spirit he felt was severely lacking.
That's a strong managerial motivator right there.
It is. And finally, in darts, defending champion Luke Littler, who rapidly became a household name due to his incredible youth and skill, is set to commence his title defense.
At the PDC World Darts Championship against Darius Labanauskas in December.
Okay.
This deep dive has truly spanned millennia, continents, and disciplines. From the organizational complexity of ancient nomadic builders in Louisiana to the search for ancient life in protected Martian caves.
We've covered everything from the molecular mechanics of cancer evasion and neurodegeneration to the massive, immediate political implications of Ukrainian corruption and a shifting, contradictory U.S. foreign policy.
In the Caribbean and the Middle East.
We've seen the real-world, billion-dollar costs of high-risk crypto speculation and the ethical dilemma posed by an old-growth forest standing squarely in the way of state-mandated affordable housing in New Jersey.
It is a messy, interconnected, complex world.
But understanding these fundamental threads helps you navigate it with confidence?
We concluded with the promise of technology, with Anthropic discussing the creation of an AI device that is supposed to be more peaceful and calm than the iPhone.
Which brings us to our final provocative thought.
Go on.
How will humanity, which is capable of the high-stakes, destabilizing chaos we just discussed, and whose critical institutions, like the leading cryptology firm IACR, can lose a crucial encryption key due to an honest human mistake?
Right.
How will we truly handle a seamless AI integration that is literally designed to be calmer than the chaos we already embrace?
Will our inherent human flaws, our proclivity for error, speculation, and conflict simply derail the promise of calm technology, or will the AI eventually absorb our chaos?
That's something to ponder as you process this immense amount of information. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.
Enjoying Artificially Informed.
Hit subscribe and share it with a friend.
From the left, the right, and straight from the algorithm.
Thank you.
That's it for today's Artificially Informed.
Nope. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Yeah.
Stay sharp, stay curious. See you next time.